13 or 14. That's what I downloaded Instagram and then had it as a personal account. And then when I started doing the Once and Future thing in 2017, I think.
That's when we started talking, I think, right about that time?
Yeah, right about that time. To reiterate, you were on the Molly Parton live stream, and I want to go deeper into this because you and this other guy were like palling around on her live stream, and she did not think that was very funny.
So my friend, I have a buddy who lives in Austin, and he does that all the time because a lot of our friends in Austin, like me and my wife's friends in Austin, we listen to the same music, and so we'll catch each other on live streams every once in a while. And he does this every single time when he sees one of us on it. He tries to start a conversation, like in the comments. It's his calling card, and Molly did not like it. I don't.
No,
God bless her though. I wouldn't either, probably.
Get a room. Oh, that was hilarious. Anyway, so I saw your name, your handle, and I was like, "What is Alabama Deathwalk? Alabama Deathwalker?"
Yeah.
And so I looked you up, and you had Steep Hills out at the time. When did Steep Hills come out?
End of 2016.
Right. So yeah, that had been out, and so I went and looked it up on Bandcamp because I actually didn't have a Spotify at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, after the first song, I was hooked. It's a really good record.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, so that's how I met you.
So funny. You had told me before, Joshua, that it was through a Molly Parton live stream, and I have always wondered if it was, because I think about that often. Like, I think about that every time I see her, like, present on, like, she does Instagram lives. I think about that time, my buddy. And I did that, and I after she responded, like, noticed it was happening, I was like, I'm never gonna do that again. And I wondered if that's what you saw and what you attention to. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Confirmed.
that was it. That was it. Anyway, so then I got the Once and Future Instagram and just basically abandoned the other one. I mean, what's the point of having two, I guess. And so because a lot of the people that are going to be coming over to that one. And I guess for me, like, I didn't have the presence of mind to do both. I know people that do have both creative and personal, and so they keep the personal private and the creative one is their work. So yeah, it makes sense to separate. But for me, it just didn't make any sense because most of my fan base were just friends and family. I don't know. We can get into the weeds with this, but if the purpose was to post purely to satisfy, I guess, a need for attention or out of a place of loneliness, I guess, in a way, then and I saw that happen in my personal one where I would literally post things because I was bored or wanted attention. I saw that. And so, I don't know, it made me really think hard about presence online and post the things I posted and considering the why behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. 100%. I think that I'm filling the void in other ways I have to be careful with, though. Like, I'll be on YouTube more often when I'm not on Instagram, or I'll be on, like, the chemical stuff is still happening. I also just think, even when I'm not creatively, like, pushing stuff through, I'm still online pretty often. I think that there's just a combo for me right now of, like, Kickstarter. My Kickstarter ended last month, and then the election was coming up, and so I knew I kind of needed to, just for my own wellness, just pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
You are, how many days in are you?
Oh my gosh. I think it's a week today.
All right, dude.
Yes.
You're doing good for a week. I saw the total when I came in. How's it feeling?
It's feeling okay. It's feeling good. It was a different response than from the first Kickstarter. But I kind of expected that. But yeah, I'm already at I think I'm over a quarter now.
Yeah.
Just a week in, and I think that it feels really good.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, it's that. I think we talked about this with your Kickstarter, which we'll get to. But how, like, balancing content, or balancing how often, like what how you go about promoting it. Because I think that's tough. It's tough. You can do too much and seem desperate, but also if you do nothing at all, there's just so much content out there that it can just get buried. And so, like, people will be like, "Oh, so you have a Kickstarter? You had no idea." It's like, well, it's been out for a while. You should have looked for it.
Yeah.
You should have done the work. And I don't know. That's not realistic. I think these songs are gonna get made, gonna get recorded and released regardless. It's just the timeline. I mean, making a record is expensive if you want to do it with a certain level of quality.
Do you know what direction you're going with your project next year?
Oh no. So the album's done. I just have to do the this is all being raised for the mixing and mastering right now.
Okay. Yeah. I understand now.
Yeah. So the whole album, I wrote it over the past year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
And so, like, just an hour and a half here, or 2 hours here and there, in the morning, and sometimes a little bit on the weekend when everybody's asleep. And so, I've had great people like you, which I want to talk about a little bit. You've helped out tremendously on one of the tracks, Innocence.
Yeah.
And basically changed the song, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, when I asked you, I was thinking about, like, the track had drums to it and everything, and I was thinking, man, when that last time I asked Emily Anderson to do some harmonies on a song.
Was that on Sacred?
That was Garden Loom. Yeah, so Emily Anderson.
She did a great job on that. Her voice sounds great.
It sounds awesome. And that was kind of what stirred me to be like, okay, so maybe this is something that I can make that's more than just me.
So it's all recorded. No more recording?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do some more, retrack some vocals.
Okay.
I think I want to do that because I'll have time. I mean, the Kickstarter doesn't end until like mid-November. And then Con, which you put me in a relationship with Con.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm eternally grateful for that relationship.
Dude, Con, man.
It was absolutely incredible. Like,
for people who don't know, we're talking about Con Davison is his music name.
Yeah.
And he has stuff on Spotify and some cool videos on YouTube too. He lives in Minneapolis. He's a buddy who knew my wife in high school and is friends with some of my friends in the Austin fan group. He now plays drums for Bad Bad Hats and mixes and engineers and produces records in Minneapolis. And he is top notch.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
What's he doing for you on this one?
He's mixing everything.
Sick.
And
I was hoping that would happen.
Yeah, and he put me in contact with Huntley for mastering Hunt. So yeah, it's been between Hunt and Con. It's like they've done both songs so far.
Sick.
And they sound. I love the way they sound.
Dude, Huntley's discography is no joke.
He did the new Sylvanesso record.
Yeah, he did.
Ridiculous.
He did it good, man. I'm enjoying that one a lot. Han just sent me what I think will probably be final mixes on 2 songs that I recorded with him.
Cool.
I don't remember if it was I think it may have been the beginning of this year before everything happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very excited he's mixing your record. He's a good bud. I miss him.
But when I found out about you, I listened to the Steep Hills album, and then I listened to your earlier stuff, like the Graduation EP, and to make nothing what's the name of that?
To trade nothing for everything.
That's what it is. Okay, so there's definitely a sonic difference between like those earlier recordings, and then even you released Plans as a full band as a single, and so like the earlier stuff was definitely very acoustic, like focused. Was that because of your like limitations on production, or was it the actual sonic style that you really liked?
I think so. Alabama Deathwalk started after I was like playing in really, really, really heavy bands like grindcore and like thrash, like kind of mathy thrash stuff. And then I got a little burnt out, and I started, and throughout the last maybe year of me playing that, I was playing that heavy music. I was listening to like Bright Eyes and Ryan Adams and Rocky Votolato and some other people like a lot, and Neva DeNova a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think some of it was stylistic, because at that time my favorite albums from those people were acoustic guitar driven songs.
Yeah.
But I think it was also due to just like logistic limitations. Like I had recorded some stuff with a heavy band, but I didn't really know how to do that at the quality I wanted to have it at full band for this. But I did know I could do that with acoustic guitar and some light instrumentation. So that was a little bit easier for me to wrap my head around. And I was also, the friends of mine who were helping at the time were equipped to do that, but not really equipped to record drums or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a mix of style choice and then also just like logistic limitations.
Yeah. And of course, like, I think the themes in the lyrics definitely are consistent. Between
for better or for worse, I am still struggling with the same thing.
No, and they're
10 years later.
The issues they're eternal issues. Those are those issues that have plagued mankind forever.
Yes.
And so that I think it's good. And then you kind of update it too, because I think actually you have a song in there where you talk about putting away your phone. Can't remember what lyric it was, but you talk about that in your earlier EP, and then in the new one, you in 2 weeks and Freaky, you kind of bring those things up.
Yeah.
And so I think, talking it like talk about in the beginning of the conversation, like how the internet and social media and like forever access to entertainment and other people can also have a downside. Yeah. So those are great themes to tackle, and I think they'll continue being an issue that we have. And so that's what I think that really stuck out to me, was like that kind of level of honesty. And so I think that the progression between those earlier albums and the new one, especially you're re-recording Plans. I was like, okay, so I can definitely hear he's getting the ability to do more production and then record drums. But you did not record Graduation EP did you record it in Texas, or where were you before Texas? Was this all in Texas or before you moved?
So I was kind of straddling the Texas-New Mexico border, but I was in El Paso and Las Cruces through up until when I was until I moved to Central Texas. So I was kind of in between those two. So Graduations was recorded mostly in Las Cruces, New Mexico, with my friends from college. So Robert Watkins recorded it, and then my friend Simeon helped with a bunch of like production ideas. He helped Robert with a lot of production ideas. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. So because I feel like I definitely noticed that difference, and I could definitely hear the Bright Eyes influence in those earlier tracks, which is kind of so. I'm going into that question. So, what is your favorite Bright Eyes album? Because he's got a huge discography that ranges
Yeah, dude.
He pushes some genres. He has a new one out. And
Yeah.
so so if you just all the time, I know you can get into the reasons why you like so many, but
Yeah. Man, I think it might be Digital Ash.
and Digital Earn. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I either that or Casadega for different reasons, but yeah, those ones are like I love going back and listening to those. Actually, you know what? My favorite album to listen to is the Neva Denova split. The
Is
the
two
one
jars,
jug of
one
wine, two
vessel?
vessels.
Yeah, jug of wine, two vessels. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I think that's my answer. That's my favorite Bright Eyes record to listen to, timeless, forever.
That is a really good album. Their voices and the
Yeah, dude.
how they write together. I don't know. It's the whole Saddle Creek like
Yeah.
discography, what they release, and their like ethos behind recording.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like there's like Sun Ambulance, and then Neva de Nova, and Bright Eyes, and then Azure is another great band from that record label. No, that splits. I agree. That split's really good.
Do you have a favorite that comes to mind, like a favorite album of his?
So this is, I think, my favorite Bright Eyes album. I think lyrically, is got to be Casadega.
Have you seen One of My Kind, that documentary about his band?
I haven't.
So there's this documentary about the Mystic Valley band, like how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good, dude. I think you would love it.
I'm a huge fan.
I think it might be free to watch, but if it costs, it's a donation to like a border and immigration rights activist organization, I think. But it came out right before, probably 2009, 2010 maybe. But they talk about his songwriting a lot in that, and that dude from what this people were saying is he'll just be at a airport bar having a beer before the flight leaves, and he'll be writing a song, and then we'll get to the studio or get to the bus or whatever, and then he's putting chords to it, and then the song's done. Yeah. He like writes lyrics all the time without a guitar in front of him. It's bonkers to me.
That makes sense how he's able to do it.
Yeah. He's on all the time, whereas I'm like on half of 1% of it.
Exactly. I have to have like maybe a feeling of a chord structure, or a deeper emotion. But I don't know, maybe he just, I don't know. He's a real artist, I guess. He's like one of the few in the world that are able to kind of do something like that. So do you ever feel like you when you're writing that you feel like you should maybe make something a bit more accessible, or try to move into a different avenue for promotion? Do you ever get that kind of feeling? And it helps that you have a job, and so you're not completely reliant on income from music, and also because of how the climate is, touring and getting seen by a record label isn't really as feasible. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about like a year ago, perhaps. Like, where was your whole mind on that?
Yeah, I don't really let that come in. I don't really let that affect things much. I mean, it maybe comes in on the back end where I'm like, okay, I made because I wouldn't be able to finish a song in my mind, wouldn't be done until I really like it. So in the creative process, it's me. Mm-hmm. But then for sure, there's still thoughts. I'm like, I wonder if people will like this. It's in my mind, but I don't ever, that doesn't ever pop into the creative process for me. I think because I can barely make it work listening to what I like, let alone trying to imagine what other people like. So like I have to just trust my ear and like try to chase something down until it feels done to me.
Yeah.
Or until it's dead, like it's not going to go anywhere. And then I worry about how it's received afterwards. But yeah, you're right. I think it is. I made a conscious decision to not. It's not like I turn anything down, but
I made a conscious decision to do music in a sustainable way. And for me, that looks like not doing it vocationally and just doing it creatively, so that I never have to worry about that.
Yeah.
In part because I can't, like, I don't know how to like guess what would be received well or not. I can only I don't think I'd be able to do it even if I had to.
Yeah. Sustainability, I think, is a really good goal for crafting music, and that might mean that you don't do it vocationally.
Yeah.
And I think, I know when I would play shows before we'd start playing, usually they'd have like background music, and it would be like top 40 hits, and I would think to myself, I would know for a fact that there's about 75% to 80% of people here would rather keep listening to the background music than have the band start playing. And so that was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, well, maybe doing something more sustainable would look like crafting something like that. That would become background music at a bar that would get, hundreds of thousands of plays, So anyway, I don't know. That's good. It's a good place to be mentally, to kind of know your limitations, but also like creatively, but also like when you're working apart from your music, you're able to have your music as a separate thing, and then be more true to it, perhaps. If you choose to continue it, like we both know people who were amazing musicians that just stopped, for whatever reason, and that was their decision, and you can do that. And so,
I think also there's like some power in the idea of like the smallest viable audience. So like I didn't know about this when I was younger, when I was making these decisions, but now that I think about it, it's like Kickstarter, for example, is like the playing out of this ideology that you actually don't need 100,000 fans. You need 300 fans that really, really like your music. And so when I'm creating music, and the only way I know how to do it is to just like try to make a song that I'm interested in. And that's why creative process is so hard for me, because I get so fatigued listening to a song so many times, and my only compass is whether or not I'm enjoying it. And at some point I stop enjoying it until I've taken a big break on it. So anyway, it gets convoluted, but I share musical like passions really intensely with a small group of friends. Like I know that's true. What me and you are examples of this. Like bands that I really love, other people really love.
Mm-hmm.
And if I trust my ear when I'm making music, my hope is that I will not make music to accomplish this, but like by default appeal to that group of people that like the music that I like. And even if that's a small group of people, if I do it well enough to my own standards, I think there's a way for me to engage that small group enough where something like a Kickstarter is possible sustainably, or even just small shows and small tours. Because I have no idea how to grow my audience at all, but I do think I know how to make music that keeps my audience maybe somewhat happy and engaged with that thing. So I don't know, it's a little confusing, but I think that there's the smallest viable audience. Seth Godin is like a genius guy that I like reading. He's like a marketing guy, but he's really big on generosity and being thoughtful about your creative work rather than trying to put out the most I don't know how to word it. It's this idea of like McDonald's versus like the single location taco place down the street. Is like, you don't need to be like, not all small businesses are on their way to becoming a corporation. Like it's okay to just be a small business forever and offer a product that you believe is good for a very long time. Like it doesn't always have to funnel into getting bigger. And that's like, that's kind of okay with me at this point. That maybe if I don't, it'd be great to grow a little bit for sure. Cause I'm miles away from getting to a place where it's like breaking through or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel okay with staying small. I own an engineering firm. I don't know if we talked about this. I got laid off a couple of months ago and I started my own structural engineering firm. That's what I do
wow.
like vocationally.
Congratulations.
I think about that a lot, and there's a lot of overlap with my music stuff too. Is just like I actually don't have the goal of being a big engineering firm. I'm pretty okay with staying pretty small and offering high quality services to like a small client base. And it's all starting to make sense now in my mind. Like, oh, that's actually what I've always been interested in, even creatively, is just like making music that makes a couple hundred people maybe really happy or really into it, or maybe 50 people. But in a way that I feel satisfied with, so that I can do it again. Whereas if I was trying to appease people and then the market is so volatile that like the album maybe didn't hit the way I wanted it, and also I wasn't proud of it, then that would be hard for me to jump back on the horse and make another record or something. I think that's part of what, I don't know, it's messy, but that's a reason why a lot of my friends that were in good bands have stopped making music, is there becomes an expectation on sales or streams. Whereas my goal for this record was to make 30 minutes of music that I was proud of. And that was all I had like written down on a Post-it note. Like that was my only goal. And that's nice, I think. If
I ever get to that point where the songs I've written meaning something to someone isn't enough, I think that's a bad place to be creatively. And I think that my hypothesis is that that's why the sophomore slump or the third album of a band, like usually like the album, the bigger album usually ends up being, I think, a least favorite at a lot of times, because
long term. Yeah.
And for me, like Frightened Rabbit, like their second and third album, like there was something, even I think their second album, Midnight Organ Fight, was such an amazing, it was so raw, and it was just so much to it. And I felt like
so much.
And I felt like it kind of like a colander. It kind of leaked out the honesty through the albums. Like I was listening to a documentary that they did before, they're not Painting the Panic Attack, the one before that. And
do you remember what the documentary is called? I've been trying to find a documentary with him.
There's Here and There. But it was Scott talked about that. Like touring is not a creative place at all. It's like the opposite of the creative place. And I think that's kind of why maybe a lot of albums end up Pedestrian Verse. That's the name of the record that those documentaries from.
Okay, cool.
Pedestrian Verse is anyway. So like it's like not a creative space at all. And then when you get off of touring, you don't want to go into the studio. You want to decompress.
Yes.
And so, so that it can be, I see it now, like that lifestyle is awesome, looks awesome. And I think it'd be fun to do that. But at the same time, there's so many warning signs behind and limitations.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yes.
Marriages among those people are like almost impossible to sustain, it seems. Like just watching it. I mean, there are so few people that are able to do it well.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's I want to, cause I process emotional stuff through songs that I write, and I want to be able to do that in 10 years without it hurting me. And I don't think that that's possible if my paycheck is riding on it. Some people can do it. I don't think I can. I don't think I'm built for it. I don't think I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'd be able to sustain financially anyway. Like I don't think that that's my place. I think, John Van Dusen comes to mind. Me Without You comes to mind. There are like some small examples of people who have done it pretty well, like and kept some family stability and health stability stuff. But they're outnumbered.
Yeah.
By the
Totally.
catastrophes for sure. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, get back to it. Like, yeah, I think it's good that you make that decision, and I think you're doing pretty well for it. I mean, you got the Kickstarter funded, and then which we're talking about in a second. Just kind of finish up here, but I also noticed on Spotify your suggested artists are off the hook. I mean, you All Get Out
really?
and David Bazan. Did you notice that?
What are they?
So I think it's David Bazan and All Get Out, and who else? You have like there's some weird ones at the very end, but you have some like legit suggested artists,
Wow,
which I'm
dude, that's awesome.
super jealous about. Yeah.
I always wonder sometimes because I think it's different for different people, but
Oh, really? No, you have your wife is on here, and Sorry Town, of course, and Options, and North Star, throwback, David Bazan, Mansions, All Get Out, and then some other ones. But you have, like, I don't know how you did it.
Wow.
But
that's cool.
That's some good company right there. But
I'll take that.
Yeah. So just a few last things.
Yeah.
So do you have a release date for the new record?
It'll be December.
Okay.
I don't have a day picked yet.
Okay.
But it'll probably be like early December, hopefully at least 10 days before Christmas.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to hear the tracks. All I've heard is just the live versions you did for that studio, like back.
Oh yeah.
I heard that there was one song I heard that was a new one I really liked, and it wasn't even the one they promoted, which was a bummer. But the new one sounded really good. And I want to talk about one more thing, and I can let you go. In your Instagram, and we talked about this early on a little bit, but in your Instagram bio, it says your genre is post-evangelicalism rock. And I wanted you, I don't know how much thought you put into that, perhaps, but I have an idea of what it means. I think that might describe a lot of people that we know that are in music with the same lyrical content that we have. But how to kind of describe that in your own words.
Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, it's not
but I'm happy to share. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it with brevity. I have a lot of gripes with faith institutions, especially like the type of evangelical Christianity that most people associate with Christianity in America, which is like kind of tied to nationalism and kind of tied to so it's kind of, I'm gonna give a quick for people who aren't familiar with the church. So in the 50s or so, fundamentalism was a really big deal, which was like a response to, I may be getting the years wrong, forgive me if I am, for people that know, but fundamentalism was really tied up on they were combating modernism, which was this idea that like actually none of the mystical stuff in the Bible was true, and so it should all be thrown out. And then fundamentalism was all about like it's all true and it's about being right, and we're also going to be right morally. And then evangelicalism was a response to that, because fundamentalism was kind of choking out life in Christianity in some ways. Evangelicalism was a response to that. Then evangelicalism at some point in the last, feels like 20 years, has now absorbed the fundamentalist movement, and they're the same thing. So very obsessed with being right, not very good at emotional health or working on yourself, because that would require questioning things, and that's not really what evangelical Christianity traditionally does well. So anyway, with that being said, I grew up in the church, and I have a lot of religious trauma stuff that I'm working through, but I still identify as somebody on like a I'm orbiting around Jesus in my faith journey. I don't really know exactly what it means, but like he's in and around it. But for me, I can't stomach a lot of like the evangelical nationalist kind of vibe. So it's kind of a joke throw off thing, but it's also like tied to some stuff that's like pretty fun, like pretty foundationally in my lyricism and stuff too, which is just like I'm not interested in I'm interested in sincerity, and if we're not willing to look at ourselves and work on ourselves and question things and talk about difficult stuff, then I'm not really interested in that, whatever that is. And evangelicalism is a good example of what that is, to me, I think.
Yeah, good answer.
It's pretty heavy. I don't know. I'm not really sure if that's going to make sense to probably 10 people really, really, really deeply. And the rest will be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But yeah, if you're somebody who holds on to like ideas of light and love and sacrificial love and like unconditional love, but you're kind of pushed into doing it into an environment that really has nothing to do with those things, it gets really frustrating. Yeah.
Well, again, like you said, it's because again, since it was, I can tell it was an intentional choice of words behind. So it wasn't just throwing it out like, well, I happen to be kind of a Christian, and so it's what's that word? Evangelical.
Post-Evangelical Rock.
Yeah, I'll just throw that in there just to be funny. Like that's kind of what I wanted to know. Because again, coming from like growing up in the church and then getting to that point where like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff that maybe in the Bible that I'm reading that doesn't necessarily get lived out or line up with things like certain. I don't know. There's a disconnect between like you're talking about the institution of the I always call it the church the building, like between the church the building and then like individual and what the Bible says about certain things. There's a disconnect, and you can either like you either pass over it and not question it, or you can dig in, and with given the resources you have and the information that's available, like you can go far with the pursuit of understanding and then hopefully revelation. And so so I think that's good. I'm glad it's an intentional choice of words. I think it's appropriate given, again, having listened to all your stuff and loving it. And I have a feeling that's also going to be a lot of the new album too.
You got it, dude. I'll send you one song that kind of talks about. It's called Distance, and it's kind of a song about like how a long distance relationship romantically feels very similar to like somebody like me who is for some reason, I don't even know why, like still holding on to a faith structure, but kind of just being dragged through evangelicalism or whatever, and how that feels like just trying to like you're calling somebody and you're missing that, like you're disconnecting, or you're calling somebody long distance at the end of the day and you're exhausted from the day and you're like, I love you, but can that just be enough for tonight? Like, I don't have anything else to say. I'm just kind of exhausted. I'll send you that. Cause you haven't heard you said you haven't heard any, I haven't sent you anything yet, huh?
No, you haven't.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. I'll send you Distance.
Cool. Thanks, man. But I'm excited for your record to come out, hopefully December.
I'm excited for you, dude. This is a big month for you.
Yeah, I'm stoked. It's been especially we just got our first big snowfall. It's been snowing since 2 a.m. So it'll be a nice light in the tunnel for our winter has officially started in Alaska. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm really excited for the record. I've loved all your stuff.
Thanks, Joshua.
I listened to Purse, I think probably 150 times in a row. When I on that record, I just kept like repeating that song. That song is so good. And so anyway, yeah. If anybody who's watching this, I'm gonna of course edit this, but anybody who's watching this, go check out Alabama Deathwalk, also known as Alabama Death Talk, or all the other things. But Eric, I really appreciate you talking to me, and yeah, you have a good day, man. And I'm excited to hear that song.
I'll email it to you.
All right, later, dude.
Later.